Derek Moneyberg here. You're about to download some key money-making philosophies in your head with this next lesson. And once you do, go to moneyberg.com and let's accelerate your success even faster. I think it's just a ruinous word. It makes me feel bad when I hear somebody say, oh, my boss, oh, my boss. I got to ask my boss. I got to talk to the boss. It's like, I don't know. Nobody that I work with calls me boss. I wouldn't be working with somebody that didn't have personal responsibility for their own outcome. This is a useful note. It's like, Owen and I, this is a real a point of hysterical laughter between him and I. There's subsets of people that we meet, they're so concerned about their title, They're so, I'm the CEO, I'm the CEO. It's like, do you guys ever hear me do you ever hear me refer to myself as, CEO, president, chairman? You ever hear me say, Derek? What a useless term, The only time if I sign a check, I'll write, sign my name and, write, president. So, because it's for legal reasons, because that's what you're supposed to do when you're signing a check for an entity, is to show your fucking authority within that entity, that you're authorized to sign the fucking check. And also to create an extra layer of liability, so you don't have a piercing corporate veil issue, which is, it'd be rare that something like that would happen in this context, but in an overabundance of caution, if I'm signing a check for one of my businesses, I'll sign the fucking thing and say president. And other than that, I don't even think about it, let alone talk about it. And that thought of some people so concerned about their title in an organization, their title. Like, would you guys rather have more money or a cool title? You could just give yourself any title you want. You know what you guys can do? If you guys are concerned about a title, here's a great idea. Who does like the idea of titles? Who's kind of concerned? It's true, some of you do, for fuck's sake. Who are you kind of like the ideas of, CEO, president? So I don't give a fuck about it. I wouldn't care what they call me. Just pay me. I couldn't care what my title was called in the company. But, we had to tell this individual, it's like, you know what you should do, bro? You should go set up 100 new companies. You could go set up 100 new LLCs, S-corps, whatever. Set up 100 new companies and get your little tax ID number and go to the bank, and you could have 100 new bank accounts with your 100 new companies, and you could be the 100x CEO. You could be the CEO of 100 entities and 100 bank accounts, and every one of those bank accounts will be empty. You could be the CEO of everything with empty bank accounts, or you could relinquish that title and get your name off the bank account, but there'll be money in the fucking bank account, and we'll give you a monthly stipend. But that was a bitter fight. So, think of the stupidity of that. It's like, would you like your title, or would you like to have some fucking, the liquid resources to go enjoy your life the way you'd want to? Don't worry about the title itself. But to your point, when you defer that responsibility to somebody else, when you're calling somebody else the boss, my boss, you're saying, well, you might have an employer, but you are the boss. You are ultimately responsible. Nobody's more responsible for my outcomes than me. And nobody's more responsible for any of your outcomes than you. And don't worry about the title so much. It's like, title is what employee chodes worry about titles. It's easier to hand out titles than raises. In a lot of companies, people are happy to give you a fancy title instead of a raise. How many of you encountered that somewhere? Yeah. How many of you have a fancy title when you would have rather had a raise? So, fuck that title. But you see, I'm balancing two ideas here. Is like, don't be concerned about your title, but God damn it, don't be fucking calling somebody else the fucking boss or giving them, as if they're responsible for your outcomes. You should literally be thinking about, like, well, if I don't have the best possible arrangement with my boss, my employer, I should fire my employer and go be employed somewhere else, or go start some other entity, or go do whatever, or do both. Do both. So, yeah.
I'll say to everybody who still needs to work with an employer, and the way I phrase that specifically, work with an employer, not work for an employer. When you're going in to do a job interview, you should be interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you. Mm-hmm. And you make sure that it's the right fit for you. And that also allows it to be the right fit for them, honestly. It's kind of like what Bill was talking about, scare people away. But I've never gone into a job interview and not interviewed them to make sure that I was working with the right people and that I could grow with those people.
That's a key distinction, which is obviously correlated with this, boss versus employer. Is I don't even like when somebody talks to me that way. Say, I'd like to work for you. I don't want that person in my. It's not the right person.
Yeah, exactly. I
don't want somebody that works for me. I want somebody where we have goals and we go do something together, and our incentives are in alignment. That if it's my organization, I'm going to send that agenda primarily. But a great way to set that agenda? Nice to have a lot of smart advisors, ain't it? Nice to have a lot of smart advisors. Nice to have a team that's doing stuff in the background that you don't even know. You didn't even know was happening. We got to make sure that's happening. Oh, it already is. What a fucking pleasant surprise. So that right there is the difference of somebody that works for someone versus works with someone. Is a fantastic example of what you just said. Is that they're looking for opportunities to fill in the voids and make things better. You get a team of people like that around you, you'd be in fantastic shape. Yeah. I just lugged a suitcase of a 68-pound suitcase over here to bring you guys fancy notepads and pens. So I was VP of hauling the fucking suitcase around. And the other day, there was a fucking piece of tissue paper or something on the floor in the conference room, and I was VP of picking up the tissue paper at the moment. So you just go tidy things up, and I remember that when I was, I picked up on what you just said. I don't know, maybe I was 18 or I'd say I was 18, and I saw a vice president walk through Walmart, regional vice president. I don't know how many stores they're in charge of. A district manager had like 9 stores, and I imagine the VPs got something like 12 district managers. So maybe he's managed 100 and something stores, And so regional vice president walks through, and I seen him pick up a little sticker, like a sticker, where the price tag on the shelf, It was like, on the floor in front of the shelf. And the regional vice president stopped and picked the thing up and then read the thing and then put it back where it belonged. And I had that, and I still remember that more than 20 years later. And when I see a little something out of place, it's like, no. It's good. If you expect your team to do that, it tells the team something if they see me pick up a fucking piece of tissue. If I pick up a fucking cup somewhere and clean this shit up, and they see you doing that yourself, you send a real clear message what an expectation is, And then when some numbnut says, well, what exactly is my job responsibility? It's like, whatever the fuck I ask you to do, plus everything that you're smart enough to see that you should be doing proactively and preemptively by yourself. If you're offended by that, go do something else. Be an Uber driver. Cook fries. I had a professor, he was a smart guy. He taught private equity and venture capital stuff. He spent his life in that industry, in mostly private equity deals. And mostly the venture capital deals. And he worked with, he's partners with Mitt Romney for 30 years. And Romney made a couple $100 million, and I would think my professor had 80 or 100 million. Never talked about the number, but it's my intuition based on several factors. Is he wasn't too poor. And this guy is a Harvard undergrad, highest honors, Harvard MBA, highest honors. Was a semi-professional bodybuilder, super fit guy, real anal attentive, wanted everything precise, Really, cross the T's, dot the I's, very precise, kind of a stiff guy. But he had very high standards of himself, and was, you got the idea. He never would say this, but you got the idea is just generally disappointed with humanity, which is probably why he and I liked each other. And he'd had these ridiculous. He's the only professor I ever took 2 classes with. And he had these ridiculous exams that are, it's like, you're going to spend, kind of to get by, you would have to spend 60 hours on a final project, during final exams time, where you have multiple exams and a lot of people who have jobs as well, And you're going to spend 60 hours. We spent over 100 hours on that project to secure my A in the class. And he'd say about that, I don't think he'd mind at all me repeating this. I think he'd be flattered, actually. I think he'd be happy. And his name was Scott. And he said, he comes to class when he gives that assignment. It was all in the syllabus, but when it's officially assigned, he comes in. He's like, now I know some of you, this is really how he talks to. It's a perfect impersonation. He's like, now I know what some of you are going to say. He said, Scott, but I got these other exams. It's final exams week, Scott. This isn't my only project. I got these other exams too. But Scott, I work full time. I'm a working professional. And I got these other exams. He's like, I understand. Not everybody wants to work 100 hours a week. Not everybody wants to do whatever is necessary. That's fine. He's like, but you're taking a class in private equity, in venture capital. You're going to work 100 hours a week if you're going to excel in this industry. If you don't want to take the exam, or you don't want to put in the time to do what's necessary, no problem. Maybe do something else. Maybe go sell shoes. And I think that was a reference to Al Bundy. He never said that, but I think that was a reference to Al Bundy Married with Children, of like a loser shoe salesman, So I think that's the anchor that he would have had in his, maybe do something else. Maybe go sell shoes. And he's very smug and very happy to say that to people. And that's kind of his personality. But he lived that way too, And he's a very rigorous guy, clinical professor, because he's a fucking winner instead of some PhD clown that never made $1 outside of his paycheck, So I love those clinical professors. We got along great together. But I always remember that in his head, and I've halfway modeled that when I say, be an Uber driver. Go drive an Uber. Go be a fry cook. You don't want to do what's necessary to be a winner? That's great. There's only so much room in the top 1%. Your competition thanks you for doing less when they were doing more. Your competition thanks you when you took the holiday off when they were working. It's one of my, I can't say this enough times, one of my favorite joys in life is working on every holiday. I love to be productive. I work extra. I do more stuff. Like a holiday is a great time to get caught up on anything that was slightly left behind. It's a fantastic time to just do extra, do more. Because you have less phone calls and less distractions because other people are doing bullshit. They're doing, not much. They're doing not much. About 18 of us on a particular chat thread, the executives and instructors and, mid-managers. And somebody on that chat thread, it's Christmas Eve, I was in my living room working. And somebody says in that chat thread, oh, Merry Christmas, I hope you blah, 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 blah. And I sent the nastiest text back on Christmas Eve to all of them. And I said, well, the essence of it is that, so while you're spending time with your friends and family doing not much, I'm working again. I'll continue to work tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. It's, about 3 a.m., I should be able to take a break and go to the gym. So on and so on and so on. I said, next year is leap year. I'm going to work 366 days next year. I'm going to do this and this and this, and just a list, just to rub in the difference between what other people want to do, what they expect of themselves or their contribution versus what I do there. And and in the meantime, I started this other business. I'm going to make it very successful as well. Oh, and I have a multi-million-dollar real estate project in the background. And these people don't do, I'll be somewhat respectful. Some people, I'll say it very nicely. They don't want to contribute at the same level. They don't want to make these efforts. They don't want to be inconvenienced to run multiple business, help other people with their businesses, and work on this project, that project. That's all I want to do. It's literally all I do. It's all I think about. It's literally what I dream about. If I'm I'm listening to an audio book, or I'm watching a documentary, or I'm actively doing something, or I'm talking on the phone with somebody smart solving a problem, or I'm in front of a group of people talking about the problems and solving problems. And if that sounds intense for some of you, that's cool. Your competition thanks you. Your competition thanks you for those that don't want to do that. But that took me from like true peasant status to, I can do anything I want today. I mean, about the only thing that I possibly would like to have that I don't have at the moment is a private jet. I could buy any car that I want to have. I could go pay cash for it. I couldn't give a shit less about a boat. I'd have to have extraordinary wealth before I would buy my own boat. I just couldn't care less about a boat, you know? I wouldn't mind having a private jet. That sounds pretty cool. I can't afford that yet. But I have to suffer in business class, first class. I have to suffer. And if that sounds smug when I say that stuff, I just say again, that's a lifestyle choice. Many of you came from a better situation than I did and did less with it. Some of you came from worse situations and you did quite a lot. And we're going to go do more together. But I appreciate that you showed up. I appreciate that you have an interest in bettering your life in some way. You wouldn't be in this room if that wasn't true. This video was brought to you by Moneyberg.com. I want you to go to Moneyberg.com right now to see where you can meet me live when I come to a city near you. I want you to be part of our audience. I want you to be part of our elite success programs. I want you to be part of the fun. Most importantly, I want you to ensure your success and your financial independence working with me while we travel around the world and help people live their dreams. Go to Moneyberg.com. Success is closer than you think. It's waiting for you there.